So hi, my name's Mel. I'm a yoga teacher based in Headingley in Leeds, and I teach various forms of yoga, classes on the mat, chair-based yoga, seated yoga, so lots of different styles of yoga that I teach in different classes. And I got to kind of know the guys at Your Backyard through various projects, mostly teaching chair-based yoga to groups across Leeds. Lots of people who came to my classes struggled with sleep, and they all found that practicing yoga regularly helped with sleep and insomnia difficulties. It also kind of gives you a resource. It's something that you can come back to each week, or for some people each day, and it just gives you that little bit of structure as every day, or once a week, just doing some yoga. And before long you start to notice that it trickles out into other areas of your life. So you might notice that you're starting to feel calmer, or you're able to navigate challenges in your life a bit easier, a bit better. So I'm going to be doing some seated and standing movement, and we'll leave it there. So that's me. Thank you. So hi and welcome to seated chair yoga with me. My name's Mel. So hi to you all. Welcome. Just to make sure that everybody is safe to practice. If you have any health issues or medical conditions, just check with your doctor, with your GP, that it's safe for you to practice exercise. Obviously, there's always risk with any form of movement, so you just want to make sure that you are safe to practice. So do check with your GP if you have any health issues. I'm going to do about half an hour in this session. It will all be seated. So this class might be for you if doing a yoga class lying down on the mat doesn't feel available, it's too challenging and you can't get down to the ground. It might be for you if you have got health issues or medical condition that means that you need something a little bit gentler. If you've got fatigue issues or struggling with tiredness, or just that you prefer a slower, more gentle practice. So let's make a start. So if you want to just have a chair to practice with, and ideally a chair that doesn't have armrests if you can. And you can see I've got a mat on the ground in front of me, so that's an option to have a thin yoga mat or exercise mat down on the ground, just to give you some stability. And some people might benefit from having a hand towel rolled up. So they're the only things that you're going to need. So if you want to get those bits of equipment together, and then just find yourself in a seated position. And to start with, just sitting how you feel comfortable, your regular kind of seated position. So not trying to sit upright or sit straight or sit in a particular yogic way, just your regular sitting. How you'd sit normally. And just start to notice the physical body, the shape of the body. Notice whether the feet are touching the ground. Like me, you might be on the tiptoes. Some of you might have the ankles crossed. Notice whether the knees are wide apart or closer together. Notice whether you can feel the sit bones on the chair, the bony bits kind of underneath the bum. You can feel them on the chair. Or some people might be leaning back, the pelvis tipping back, so that you're resting more on the back of the pelvis, the sacrum. You notice whether the shoulders are rolling in or are they pulled back. I'm just getting a sense of your body, where it is in space. Notice whether one side feels different to the other. If you scan your awareness down the right side and feel into that side. And then scan the awareness down the left side of the body. And one side might feel more connected, longer, broader, or you might not notice any difference at all. Notice whether the weight of the body shifts more towards your left hip or your right hip. And does one shoulder feel higher than the other? And it might feel quite hard to do this, we're just scanning your awareness. And then we're going to come into what we'll call a seated mounting pose. So we're going to sit forward in the chair a little bit so that you can bring the feet flat to the floor. The feet kind of about hip width apart, knees hip width apart or thereabouts. And sitting, if you can, without the support of the back of the chair. So that might be really challenging for some people. If it is, then just take regular breaks where you walk back and rest back in the chair. And then just coming back to your seated mounting. So having the feet flat on the floor, heels round about underneath the knees, and wiggle the toes a little bit, and then just allow the feet to spread and broaden into the mat. Imagine taking your awareness down to the feet. Imagine that the feet are sinking into sand or clay. Can you feel the shape of each foot? Just feeling and sensing the right foot and the left foot. All the support that you can find through that contact with the ground. Dropping the weight of the body down through the lower legs into the feet and through into the ground. And then bring your awareness to the pelvis. And notice if you're sitting on the sit bones. And if you're not, just find the sit bones. So you might just need to move the hips a little bit and find the bony bits. So sitting on the sit bones will help to lengthen the spine and create more length through the spine. Staying relaxed in the upper body, so you don't need to pull the shoulders back. Just staying comfortable. Finding that natural lengthening through the spine. And we're just going to start by shifting the weight from one sit bone to the other. So shifting the weight to the right sit bone and to the left sit bone. Quite subtle movement. And while you're doing this, have an awareness of the breath. Breathing in and out through the nose gently if you can, or just however feels comfortable, nice relaxed breath. And just shifting the weight from one sit bone to the other, and you might press the foot into the ground to help the weight shift. If you bring your hands to the hips, you'll notice the pelvis perhaps moving a little bit up and down. The hips lifting and lowering. And then just finding a central position, keeping that smooth, natural breath. And then just rolling the pelvis forwards and back. So tipping the pelvis forwards down towards the thighs and back. So the pubic bone is travelling down towards the ground. And then it's curling up towards the nose and tipping backwards. So you're rolling and shifting the weight from the front to the back of the sit bones. You can see the whole pelvis is tipping backwards and forwards. And the rest of the spine is following. So then just coming to combine those two movements, we're going to shift the weight to your right sit bone and then tip the pelvis up towards the nose and then to the left sit bone and then forwards. So circling like a clock on the sit bones, moving forwards and back. So as you go forwards, the tailbone lifts a little bit behind, and as you go back, the tailbone curling under. Just feeling whether you can find any movement in the hips. And this helps with walking more easily, with balance, changing directions. So the hips are designed to move, and often we kind of really trap the hips through sitting in chairs and just generally how we move. But finding some movement in the hips. You can let the rest of the spine follow, but the main movement is coming from the pelvis. And then just coming back to centre. Bringing the hands to rest on the thighs and rounding the back towards the back of the chair. You can lower the chin. So the spine is making a rounded shape. And then slide the hands back, open across the chest. And then create this little arch at the back of the waist. And you can gaze up if that feels comfortable for the neck. And just creating that flexion and extension through the spine. And if you want to, you can add the arms, so we'll look at that. Opening, and then bringing the arms round. And the movement is really coming from the rolling forwards and backwards of the pelvis. Rolling the pelvis forwards, opening, the tailbone lifts. And then rolling the pelvis backwards, so the pubic bone lifts towards the nose. The rest of the spine just follows. You can exhale as you round, and inhale as you open. And from here, if you find that you're finding it hard to sit on the sit bones and your pelvis is rolling back, then you might want to place a rolled up hand towel on the chair and just sit the sit bones on the hand towel, more towards the front of the hand towel. So from here we're going to take the arms up. If you have any heart conditions or high blood pressure, don't take the arms overhead, just take them to shoulder height and lower them down. You might inhale as they go up, but keeping the breath quiet, not over breathing. Exhale as they lower down. So floating the arms up, keeping the jaw relaxed, the brow relaxed, and bringing the hands to the hips. Roll the pelvis forwards now, so it's tipping towards the thighs, and coming into a forward fold, sliding the hands down the legs with a long neutral spine, and pressing the feet into the ground as you slide back up. And do that 2 more times, so sliding forwards, lengthening through the crown of the head, and drawing the chin in a little bit, and sliding up. And tipping the whole ball of the pelvis forward. Sit bones are flaring open as you lean forwards. And we're going to combine those 2 movements. So inhaling, sweep the arms up. Exhaling, bringing the arms down. Take your time. If you need to take more breaths, you can do. And then folding forward, just naturally breathing however feels comfortable, and sliding back up. Imagine the lungs expanding and contracting in all directions as you breathe in and out. As you breathe in, the lungs expanding. And as you breathe out, imagine them contracting. You might even sense that in the movements you feel in the body. And then just coming back to seated. Then lowering the hands down to the side of the chair. And we're going to just lift up your right knee, and just start to make small circles with the knee. As though you had a crayon at the knee and circling it round. So the lower leg isn't circling, it's the knee circling round, the lower leg is still. And if you can feel the thigh bone is circling round in the hip socket. And this will help if you've got quite tight or bunched up in the crease of the groin and the hips, to just bring some movement into that area, just freeing it up a little bit. You can change directions. And then bring that knee to centre. And if it feels comfortable for you, extending the leg forward and then bending the leg. And you might find that things feel a bit tight on the back of the leg. So don't force it open, don't force the knee open. So you might have your leg lower down. And moving it forwards and back. And not trying too hard. So sometimes if you try too hard, it can just move you off centre a little bit. Calm and gentle practice. And then from there, just bringing the knee in towards the chest. And you can either hold the hands behind the thigh, or you could take the hands in front of the shin. Just being careful of not tippling backwards in space. I want to circle the foot. Lifting the elbows a little bit, creating some space across the shoulders, underneath the armpits. And then lower that leg down. Just compare it to the other side, notice how it feels. And do the same on the other side. And just lifting up your left leg, circling it round. Really small circles, and just have an awareness of the thigh bone, the femur, rotating deep in the hip socket. Keeping the sit bones nice and open and really grounded through the chair. Staying connected to the ground through your supporting leg, changing directions. And not going to the point where you hold the breath. So if you start to hold the breath and you notice that, just ease off, back off a little bit. Coming back to centre and extend that leg out now and bring it back. So you might be extending the leg away on a diagonal towards the floor, or it might be a bit higher. Just keeping on the sit bones, and notice if the lower ribs want to start poking out. Just keep the lower ribs nice and quiet. Nice and soft at the top of the shoulders. And then bringing the knee in towards the chest. You could support that with the hands. Find support through the chair, through your standing leg. You could bring the hands in front of the shin. Just guide your awareness inwards, feeling the movement of your breath. Lovely, then lower that down. Taking the feet wider apart now. So you might need to sit further forwards, feet flat to the ground. And again, still sitting so that you can feel the sit bones. Lengthening through the crown of the head. Imagine maybe that you have a string or a thread attached to the crown of the head. And softening the shoulders. I'm going to take the arms up, so taking the arms up like we did before. And this time we're going to lower the right arm down to the right thigh and take the left arm overhead. Take the arms up and doing the same on the other side. And see if you can go in a straight line in your side bend. So imagine and visualise the spine bending in almost like a banana shape over to the side. So you're not coming into a twist as such. And breathe naturally. Awareness of the rise and fall. Very quiet, easeful breath. Opening up the sides of the ribs. And this time when you go over to the right, just holding it there for a moment, open and rotate the heart subtly towards the ceiling. And some of you might want to extend the other arm away. Breathe. Lower that right arm back down, coming up to centre. Taking both arms up. And lower the left arm down, going over to the left. Opening the side ribs. Imagine them fanning open like gills. Drawing in the breath. And again, if you want to extend both arms away. Notice if you're overworking, working too hard. You just need to ease off a little bit. Lower that down. And then coming up to seated. And then we have the wide-legged forward fold. When you wide-legged forward fold, the feet are wide apart and the knees are tracking down towards the second and third toes. Roll the pelvis forward so the tailbone starts to lift. So the whole pelvis is rolling towards the thighs, keeping the spine long. And some of you might bring elbows to thighs. Notice if you're cranking the neck back. So see if you can lengthen through the crown of the head, sinking the whole foot into the mat. And some of you might go a little bit deeper, bringing the hands to the ground. And just allow the spine to lengthen, just tucking the chin slightly towards the chest. And take your time coming into it, so you don't have to go into the most advanced variation of the pose. And then bringing the hands back to the thighs, sinking the feet down, sinking the feet down. It's the sinking of the feet that lifts you back up. From here, taking the arms out wide. Now we're going to come into a forward fold with a twist. So keeping the spine long, taking one arm behind and one arm to your shin, to your knee, thigh or ankle, and lifting back up. And you might exhale as you turn, and inhale as you lift. Make sure you're not pulling or straining, just staying within a really easeful range of motion. If it feels right for you, exhaling as you turn and inhaling as you come to centre. And one more. At any point, if it feels too much, you can always rest and have a pause. So just walking the feet back in. And extending your right leg long. So extending the right leg long, you can use the hands for support on the chair. And your left foot wants to be flat to the floor for support. Again, rolling the pelvis forwards, coming into forward fold, lengthening down the back of the right leg. And it's up to you, you can relax the right foot or you might want to flex it. Notice if you're craning the back of the neck, so see if you can lengthen the back of the neck. You can keep the hands on the chair or you might bring the hands to rest on the legs. Maybe some people might bring the hands to the shin or even maybe to the toes. Allow the arms to open, the elbows to lift a little. And find that depth in your breath, very natural, easeful breath, without forcing or pushing it. And then bringing the hands back to the chair or the thighs, pressing into your supporting foot and lifting yourself. And then changing sides, extending your left leg, and leaning forward. So you're hinging at the hips rather than the waist. And create that nice long spine. You can either relax the foot on that side or flex the foot, just gives slightly different sensation. Lengthening through the crown, and you might bring the hands to the shin, to the feet, keeping the fingers soft. Connecting to the movement of breath inside the body, feeling the length of the spine. And then bringing the hands back to the chair and slowly lifting yourself back up. Bringing the feet back to your seated mountain. And then just coming into a rotation to finish. So I'm just going to turn to your right. And think of turning the belly, then the ribs, then the chest, and then the head is the last thing to turn. And your left hand is going to rest on the outside of your right thigh. The right hand can just rest on the chair seat behind. You can feel maybe the expansion and contraction of the ribs, expanding as you breathe in, and drawing in as you breathe out. And if you can't feel that, just imagine it. Maybe imagine the lungs as balloons, expanding and deflating. And going to the other side. So rotating from the belly, ribs, chest, shoulders, and bringing your right hand to the left thigh, outside of the left thigh. The head is the last thing to turn. Not straining or pushing or forcing yourself. And again, coming back to visualising the lungs, maybe feeling that movement in the ribs, expanding like a balloon with each in-breath, and contracting, drawing in with each out-breath. And coming back to centre. And then just removing the towel, if you did have the towel on the chair, making yourself comfortable. And you can sit back in the chair. And you might want to rest the hands on the thighs. You might have one hand resting in the other hand. And just feel the backs of the thighs. So really allow the weight of the body to find that support through the seat of the chair. Just slowing down, bringing your awareness back to the feeling of the feet on the floor, the feeling of the sit bones, the backs of the legs. If you're comfortable to, if you prefer to, you can close the eyes. Or if you would rather keep the eyes open, you can allow the eyes to just soften, softening the gaze. And just taking your awareness more inwardly and bringing some softness into the muscles, allowing the muscles to relax, softening the tops of the shoulders. And softening the jaw, the roof of the mouth, the tongue. Relaxing across the forehead. So if you notice if you're furrowing the brow, just smoothing out the forehead. Allowing the shoulders to sink down, the shoulder blades relaxing down the back. Relaxing the fingers, the hands, the palms of the hands, the feet, the toes. And having an inner awareness, feeling where you notice the movement of your breath. As you breathe in and out, noticing the swelling and rising of the breath without forcing it, without straining. It might be quiet, easeful breath. It doesn't need to be anything big or impressive. And bringing the hands to the lower abdomen, resting one hand on top of the other. And just imagine breathing into the hands. You might be able to imagine or sense the abdomen gently rising as you breathe in and gently falling as you breathe out. So allow the belly to relax, not sucking the belly in. And guiding the movement of breath down to the lower abdomen, breathing in and out. Just taking a few moments in stillness. Centering your awareness in your lower abdomen. Maybe finding a sense of quiet, of calm. Maybe just a chink of inner stillness, of settling. And dropping down into the body, being receptive to the movement of breath. And anchoring your awareness at your center. Maybe slowing down the exhalation. And just breathing in naturally. And doing that a few more times, slowing down the exhalation. Allowing the inhale to rise naturally. And then when you're ready, just preparing for movement, wiggling fingers and toes. Bringing the hands together and rubbing the hands together, creating some heat between the hands. And just resting the hands over the eyes. And cupping the hands over the eyes, closing the eyes, just allowing the eyes to bathe in that darkness, releasing any tension that might have built up in the eyes, and then slowly releasing the hands, opening the eyes, and bringing one hand to the belly, one hand to the chest, taking a few centering breaths. And then to finish, bringing the hands to the heart. And we'll leave it there for today's practice. So thank you for practicing with me. I hope that you enjoyed. Thank you.